Hello, hello, hello. Good morning and happy Friday. Thank you so very much for joining us on this Friday morning. My name is Stephen A. Hart. I'm the host of the Trailblazers.fm podcast. This is your first time rocking with us on one of our live streams. Just want to thank you so much for being here with me. For the past 5 years now, I've interviewed over 200 amazing Black entrepreneurs and leaders, self-driven founders, best-selling authors, passionate leaders. It's my hope to be able to get to a point where I've interviewed over 1,000 Black professionals for, the better part of this year. I have paused the podcast and I've been doing live streams like this over on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, sometimes on Facebook. And this morning, I'm trying something different. I have a phone up above streaming as well to Instagram. So we are going to see what happens today. Seeing comments everywhere, quite literally. But we're going to try this out and see what happens. Good morning to my LinkedIn family. See a lot of people rocking with us. Good morning, Minda Hearts. Good morning, Annette. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Sheldon. Ralston. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Appreciate you guys hanging with me. I'm seeing Steven over here on Instagram. I see Monique hanging out. Good morning. Listen, today I wanted to talk about some steps, 6 steps to jumpstart your personal brand. I think that, in this day and age, so much is happening and we really need to pay attention to, what we're doing, right, in regards to our brand. So that said, I am about to launch. I am a brand strategist. I'm a marketer by day, a brand strategist, a podcast, as I shared, self-labeled hashtag best dad ever. And, one of the things I'm proud of having done is creating a personal branding program. It's an online self-paced program called Brand in Demand. You can learn more by hopping over to brandindemand.co. That's brandindemand.co to learn more about the course. So my goal with the course and with just about everything that I do is, I'm on a mission to help 10,000 heart-centered leaders and entrepreneurs to build an amazing personal brand that helps them to stand apart from the competition. And earlier this week, back on Monday, I was actually sharing with my team that there's an ism created by Dan Gilbert, who owns the Cleveland Cavaliers as well as Quicken Loans. And it basically says that if you do one big thing better than your competition, it becomes fairly easy for them to imitate you, right? They just need to imitate that one thing. However, if you begin to do thousands of little things better than anyone else, you'll become nearly impossible to imitate. And we call those thousands of little things inches, right? So it's my goal today and every day to find ways to help you to build your amazing personal brand for maximum impact and to be able to separate yourself, to be able to stand out from your competitor, right? Now, in just a minute, I'm going to talk about the jumpstart in your personal brand. But before we dive in, I wanted to touch on the importance of branding and how to build your personal brand. So let's cover the basics. People often ask, or give thought to what is a brand? And I keep it simple. I said that a brand is simply a set of features that distinguishes you from others. right? That could be your name, that could be your design, that could be your voice, that could be the experiences that you make sure people have when they come in contact with you or what you have to offer, right? And probably one of the most iconic and legendary personal brands that there is today is Oprah Winfrey, right? The moment I say you get a car, we all know who that's from, right? So that's one of her taglines, right? One of her famous sayings. Now, the act of branding is an iterative process to create that distinct presence. Now, when you think of Starbucks, right? Starbucks has been around for decades, but Starbucks back in 1971 had created a brand design, a visual identity, but they didn't stay there. They evolved. And so over the decades, they've enhanced their visual identity, their brand message, how they show up, the experiences that they provide. In the same way, you and I will evolve, right? We're not static. We don't create a brand and that's it. Each and every day we are evolving, right? So your brand, your personal brand must evolve too. Now, Jeff Bezos, who's the founder of Amazon, said that your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. My question to you this morning is this: what are other people saying about you, right? Give that some thought. What are other people saying about you right now? So I, at this point, I am generally pretty good, right? I'm a personal branding guy, but I know a lot of you who need to see the supporting data. Your quant brain, or, you love the analytics, you love the data, you love the stats. And you're like, okay, if I don't see the reason why this personal branding thing is important, it's just fluff to me. And I've had that conversation several times. So for those of you who are skeptical about the need for a personal brand, let's talk about this. Let's look at the data. Forbes actually published some information from a 2018 Career Builder survey. And it said that 70%, a couple key findings here, 70% of employers use social media to screen candidates. And 43% of employers use social media to check on current employees. If you're an employee, should this matter? Yes. Entrepreneur Magazine or entrepreneur.com in this scenario pointed out that some stats here on when brand messages are shared by employees on social media, they get a 561% more reach than the same message being shared by the brand. Brand messages are also reshared 24 times more frequently and receives 8 times more engagement than when they're shared by the brand's social media channels themselves. That's pretty impressive, right? And if you're a leader or an executive, you're not excluded. Reputation management is so very important. This also pointed out here in the same article that reputation management is the #1 risk concern for business executives around the world. And 88% say they're explicitly focusing on reputation risks as a key business challenge. And the last thing I wanted to touch on here is for business owners. Better pay attention if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner. Out of all business decision makers, 84% start with their buying process. They start the buying process with a referral. And Google is the first place people are going to look after they get that referral, right? 53%, more than half of decision makers, I love this part, have eliminated a vendor from consideration based on information that they found or did not find online. That's so very important. I always say somebody's Googling you and the results that they find are going to leave them more or less inclined to do business with you, to partner with you, or to hire you. Stats is right there, right, to support that. And the last thing I caught is right at the bottom here. It says of the 75% of US adults who Google themselves, nearly half say the results aren't positive. That is mind-blowing. Now, if those stats don't give you pause and really make you think about leveling up your personal brand, I don't know what will. Right? Whether you're an employee, you're a corporate leader, an executive, a business owner, you've got to be, thinking about how people are looking you up online. Right? Now, pause for a minute and imagine with me if you could become the go-to person in your area of expertise, if you could clearly distinguish yourself from your competitors, if you could begin to command those higher fees, the income, the salary, and be able to gain the confidence and the clarity, right, that know, like, and trust. And at the end of the day, just be able to access the freedom that you desire and begin to live life on your terms. I want you to know right now that your personal brand can help you to achieve all of that and more. So let's talk about today. I wanted to share 6 steps to jumpstart your personal brand. So step number 1 is I want you to build a solid foundation, right? I want you to build a solid foundation. I'm gonna hop back over here real quick. And just before we dive in, I love to kind of catch what's happening in the chat thread. So I'm sharing a PowerPoint this morning to make sure I can share thoughts and you can see stuff. So StreamYard and the comments thread, it's going to be crazy. Plus I'm running Insta. For those of you hopping on Instagram, I am doing a live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and YouTube. We're just about everywhere this morning, but I am sharing screen. So, I figured you guys could just jump in and we are rolling with this experiment. But listen, step 1 to jumpstarting your personal brand is building a solid foundation, right? It's absolutely key to everything you're doing. If you are unclear about your life's purpose, your priorities, who you're serving, what you're serving, and how you're going to earn money, you need to actually spend some time to begin documenting some of this and getting clear, because if you don't have clarity, you can't get confident. You can't move forward with that measure of confidence, right? I've actually read a statistic recently that said that only 25% of Americans actually have clarity about their life's purpose. 3/4 of us in this country are walking around with no idea where we're trying to get to. We don't have understanding. We don't have clarity of our life's purpose. And to unlock your life's purpose, I'm sharing with you here a visual of what's called a purpose Venn diagram. And it says that your life's purpose sits at the intersection of what you love doing, what the world needs, what you're great at, and what you get paid for, right? At the center of all of that, that's where your purpose lives. And if we know our value, we'll become crystal clear on what we do, right? And why we do it. Now, I love to toy around. I'm the king of dad jokes, right? I'm gonna leave the dad jokes alone today, but you can follow me on Twitter if we're not connected. I'm at Steve Nehart, and that's where I share. I love to share the most corny dad jokes. But I say vision is best at 2020, but I would tell you that your vision is best at 1010, right? I back in 2016 started a podcast, and in the summer of that year, I sat down on Evernote at the time and gave thought to where I wanted my life to be in a few years. In fact, I first off thought about what does 20, 25, 30 years out from now look like? And, I live in Maryland. I'm from Jamaica. And, I thought wherever I'm at in my 60s, there better be a beach nearby. Right. And so that's the goal, but then I started thinking about, okay, if I'm in the beach chair in my 60s, what would I have wanted my life to look like when I look back at that point in time? And I gave thought, removing all the obstacles, all the hurdles that stand in the way. I began to give thought to what could I actually achieve with this one life that I'm given? And I started to think big, right? And it took me a couple of weeks, but I started writing down some, what I call your BHAGs, your big, hairy, audacious goals. And I wrote down 10 goals. And so, the 10 in 10 is your 10 biggest goals that you want to accomplish over the next 10 years, right? I think about the 25 years out, but then I begin to reverse engineer the process. And, when I get those goals down, I started with much more than 10, but worked my way to the top 10, right? And I didn't just list the 10 goals. I was clear on why those 10 goals, right? Why are those 10 the most important ones? And here's why that's important. You are obviously, whatever it is that you decide to do with your time on this earth, you're absolutely going to run into hurdles, into challenges, into roadblocks, into dead ends. And when you get to that point, you need to understand what's your why. Why will you not give up? A year ago, at the beginning of this pandemic, my dad suffered a stroke. My wife had a foot injury. The kids got home from school. I had to stop the podcast. And I could have easily said, you know what, this is a good 5-year run. Let's hang it up. And if it were not for those 10 in 10 for me to go back and look at, right? I probably would have thrown in the towel. And so I look at my vision, and I share this with my students in the branding course as well. This is your GPS. This is where you put in the address of where you're trying to get to in 25 years from now. And your goals, right, are going to provide, like Google Maps. It's going to tell you the fastest route or the scenic route or however you want to get there. It's going to guide you, right? And when you hit the roadblocks, it will say, hey, you know what? Let's not quit. We still want to get out to that destination, but we're going to have to take another route to get there. So, when you hit those roadblocks, instead of quitting, you won't quit. It'll just shift. And that's what happened for me this year. One of my big goals was to interview 1,000 Black leaders and entrepreneurs. Well, when I hit a roadblock with a podcast, I didn't quit. I shifted. Now, I haven't published to the podcast since December. However, I shifted. And I shifted to live streaming. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm creating content on live stream. So not only did I stop publishing a podcast once a week, I started creating content live on video 3 times a week. I shifted. I credit my vision helping me to get clear about what it is, right, that I continue to do and push ahead, right? So the other thing that, is paired with step 1 is getting clear on who it is you'll serve, right? So have clarity first off on your vision, and understand your why, but also get very clear on who it is you're serving, right? Tip here, you're not serving everyone. If you're serving everyone, you're serving no one in particular. So you have to get really crystal clear on who it is that you are looking to serve. When you get clear on who, now you can begin to look at, well, what are this group of people? What are they challenged by? What's their pain point? I've been training my daughter Layla, for the last few years. Hey, a business is here to serve a solution for a problem. In the same way, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a corporate professional, you are serving a group of people and you are solving a problem, right? So when you get clarity on who it is you're serving, you can ISO that group and see, okay, what's the common threads? What's the themes running through this, right? What are the pain points that are keeping this group of people up at night? And how can I solve that problem for them in a way that no one else can, right? So get clear on that. Step 2, you and I have got to create an epic brand identity. The visual aspects of our brand are really key, right? So color is one of the first things that our brains perceive from a brand, and it's what pulls us in. There's research here. I know you guys love the data that says that people make a subconscious judgment within 90 seconds based on color alone. So I want you, right? There's several websites out there. I want you to explore your choices for colors, right? To define your color palette. When you've selected your colors, you want to document what's called their hex numbers, their hex codes. Hex just refers to a 6-digit color code that helps you, it corresponds to the specific color. So instead of you saying, hey, my brand color is blue. Listen, there are a million shades of blue. But whenever you see Stephen A. Hart show up, my primary blue is hex number 002663. Know that by heart. FF5C24 is my orange, right? I don't even need to look at the slide. I know that when I'm in Canva, when I'm in PowerPoint, when I'm in Photoshop, whatever application I'm in, and I'm creating an asset for Stephen A. Hart, whether that's my social covers or things from our website or print material, you are seeing me show up consistently the same way every single time, right? That's the aspect of color. And the thing I love most about this is that consistent use of your colors will immediately bring a cohesive visual feel, right? Because now you can make sure everywhere you show up, it's consistent. So if you've not yet done so, right, I'm going to encourage you to define a color palette for your brand. It doesn't cost you anything to employ this technique, and you can do that today, right? Actionable for you. Another element of your brand identity is your fonts, right? If you think about anything from the time you woke up this morning to the time that we are on this, to looking on what I'm sharing right now, you are looking at a font somewhere, a font style somewhere, right? And so you have to think about, the fonts you use. I generally will recommend my students select a font pairing. And again, a third element of your brand identity that will help set you apart is your photography, right? You want to make sure you have professional, high quality, high resolution photography on hand that you're publishing on online, right? That people can access for you, as well as, wherever else you are. And again, whether you're a coach or online entrepreneur, you're a leader, you need to make sure you're taking inventory of how you show up, not just in Google search results for links, but if somebody clicked on images, are there images coming up for you, right? Give thought to all of this. Clarifying your colors, your fonts, and your photography. Just those 3 brand elements alone would set you apart if you gave thought to being very deliberate about how you approach this with your personal brand. Step 3, clarify your message. I want you to write this down or say it out loud, right? If you confuse, you'll lose. If you confuse, you'll lose, right? Type it out in the chat. If you confuse, you'll lose. You have to clarify your message so that your customers will listen, right? My sister Patrice Washington is the queen at messaging, not only from the text that's on her website, but if you listen to Patrice's messages on interviews she does, it's consistent, right? When she tells her story, whether she is being interviewed for 3 minutes or she's on stage for 2 hours, Patrice is very consistent about her story being told, about her message being shared. Minda, you're here rocking as well. And Minda also does a fantastic job of being able to articulate her message, wherever she shows up. You've got to give thought to your story, to your message, both in print as well as the spoken word, right? What are you telling people about you? And another quick soundbite here, remember that your message is about you, but it's not for you, right? So you have to think again, back to what we talked about with the audience and that tribe that you're serving. How are you creating a message that's going to serve your audience? So we're going to move along pretty quickly. How are we on time? Good. All right. So step number 4 of 6, you got to build a personal website, right? Your personal website is your digital HQ. It's how you show up to the world, right? When we talk about the Google, right? You are in control of your brand. And one of the places that you have the ultimate control, right? You could anchor yourself to the gram, you could anchor yourself to LinkedIn or to Twitter, but any of those platforms can pull the plug on you any given day. But you have the control to purchase your own domain name and to show up on your website in a way that you're in total control of, right? And so that becomes the front door to your online presence. And I want you to write this down. A solid website probably won't close a sale, but it can absolutely lose a sale. I'll say that again. A solid website probably won't close a sale, but it can absolutely lose a sale. Now, what's a sale? Says Stephen, I don't sell. Well, actually, you do. You could be selling a job. You could be selling a speaking engagement. You could be selling a partnership or a sponsorship, right? In some way, you're in control. Remember, somebody's Googling you. And they might be able to come to that website, right? And learn more about you. So I hope you guys write this one down. All right. So a couple other key things here. Your website. You need to do a couple things with the website. I could talk about, I'm at a pause right now because I'm thinking, man, there is so much more that you probably need to do when we think about website, but high level. I love to keep things tight, right? Yeah, again, we talked about this just a second ago. You have to clarify your message, but you have to establish trust, right? So you need to be mindful that, listen, I forgot the metric. I don't, actually, it is here, right? 57% of people said they won't recommend a poorly designed website. So we talked about all these people referring you, right? If somebody is Googling you and your website is looking shoddy, they are not feeling the energy and they're not going to refer you, right? Your website lends credibility to who you are. So you have to make sure not only are you putting up a website, but you're putting up a website that people are going to say, you know what? I can absolutely, refer Patrick or Andre or Minda or Annette, right? So the last thing that you have to make sure, and I see this all too often, is people put up a website and they put up just tons of copy, right? Copy everywhere. But I'm looking, I read the first paragraph and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want this. But then I keep reading and I'm like, where is the buy now? How do I connect with you? What do you want me to do next? You have to call people to take an action. You have to tell them what to do next. And you have to tell them again and again and again in different parts of your website, in the top nav, in the footer, in the hero section. If you don't know what that's about, join brandindemand.co, right? But you need to make sure at your website, all throughout your website, you're telling people what to do next. Okay? You have to make sure that you're giving them clear instruction. Now, step number 5 is all about we now know what we're trying to accomplish. We have clarity in our purpose, in our vision, in our audience. We know, what message we're putting out there. We have our brand identity. It's now clear. We built a website. Now, the website and your entire digital online presence, what I call your digital footprint, needs to be cohesive and consistent. We need to pepper in that message in all our respective channels, social and digital, right? We need to make sure that things are consistent. So, when you look at the Stephen A. Hart brand, it is consistent, not only in the visuals, but also in the message, also in the call to action. And if you look at the best brands out there, the messaging, the visuals, all of it ties together. No matter where somebody finds you, they're going to say, man, this brother got it together. The sister got it together, right? And that's how people will come back to you and say, you know what, man, I really love how you've put this together, right? You can tell that you gave thought to, and when you see somebody else, right? When you see a polished Instagram profile grid, that person gave thought, and it's different than somebody else who just, throws up any meme on their profile, right? It matters. All of these little steps along the way matter, right? So take action, start sharing content. I love to talk about LinkedIn. I'm showing a image of me and my sister from another Mr. Minda here doing a conversation on her security seat live. And listen, I show up on LinkedIn. Minda shows up on LinkedIn. Maybe LinkedIn's not your place to be. Maybe it's on Instagram. Maybe it's on Twitter. You need to show up where your audience is. For me, I am determined for one day LinkedIn to call me Mr. LinkedIn. That was my goal coming into this year, right? I show up on LinkedIn. I show up on LinkedIn when I am sleep lines all in the side. I mean, I don't know who told me to commit to doing lives on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. in the morning. I just did not think that one through clearly, especially in these summer months when the kids are off from school and I really don't have a reason to get up and prep a live at 8 a.m. But, days like today, I'm off from work. I took the day off, and yet, I'm hanging out here with you. And there are, a number of you in different locations checking this out. So I show up consistently each and every single week. And you need to do the same, right? Last tip here on this step is to make sure that you have consistent URLs. Your brand covers are tight. Your profile photos are tight. You're sparking curiosity with your bio and your headlines. And last tip here, don't miss bullet number 5. You need to use more video. Video is now the way that we communicate. And stop telling yourself that you're not ready for video. We just came out of a pandemic. In fact, we're still in this pandemic, right? So stop telling yourself you don't want to see yourself on video. You're in video all day, every day on Zoom. Whether that's for work, right? Or you're communicating with your family on FaceTime or WhatsApp video, you're on video. You've been on video for the past 18 months. Stop telling yourself at this point that you don't do video, because you do, right? And people want to hear you. They want to hear you in the raw. You guys are signed in right now because of this, right? So get used to, I liken what's happening right now I think Amazon taught us how to shop online. And in the same way, I think over the past year, Zoom and platforms like it with Meet and whatever else have taught us how to engage with video, right? So if you're liking what I'm saying so far, hit the like button, hit the love button on whatever platform you are, tag somebody, tell them to come check out this content. I hope you're enjoying this so far. If you are, I need to see some more comments running. Let me know what you're appreciating so far. I'm sharing a ton of goodness. There's a link running on the ticker tape below me. This and so much more is covered in our branding course, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But step number 6, the last step here to jumpstarting your personal brand. I kind of alluded to this a second ago, right? But you need to create valuable content, right? You can create a website. You can, again, which is your front door, the front door to your online home. It sets the impression, and it guides your visitors to whatever you're calling them to do next, right? But what happens from there, right? No one's just going to land on your website. You need to be able to create content that begins to showcase your expertise. Give thought, and if you're like, Steven, I don't know what I'm an expert at, we can talk about that, right? But you need to inventory your knowledge, and you need to begin giving thought to the things that you know that you've now discounted or dismissed, but that the world would find valuable, right? When I first, and I'll share a quick story. When I first created the first run of this course with Brand in Demand was back in October of 2018. And I remember, we ran it in a beta. And I remember putting out a module, a lesson of the course. And at the time, I'd still wanted more time to work on it, but I put it out and I was upset with myself because at the time I thought, I only put out maybe 30%, maybe 20 or 30% of what I truly wanted to pour out for that cohort. And I remember putting it out on a Monday morning and thinking to myself, man, I let myself down on this one. And a day or two goes by, and there are probably a dozen people in the cohort, and they're coming back and they're like, Steven, this is amazing. I absolutely love what you're sharing here. And it was a reminder to me in that moment that my 15%, my 10%, my 20%, right, is somebody else's 100, right? So we need to give thought to our inventory, our knowledge, what we know, what only you can give to the world. God's planted a seed in you, right? And you can water that seed, right? And you can nurture it. And there's a seed that's planted in you that only you can nurture and gift to the world. And there are a lot of people waiting for you to plant that seed and water it so it can get out the soil and it can provide shade to others coming behind you. That legacy play, right? So what you need to start doing is creating content, right? I'm just showing a couple slides, but I'm active in all places. I'm most active on LinkedIn, but I'm active in all places. Now, there's some days where I'm going to share a quote. There's some days where I'm going to do a podcast interview. There's some days where I'm going to absolutely bomb. And there's some days where I'm going to share a dad joke and be really silly. And, there are places like Instagram where I don't talk professionally too much, right? I'm often sharing my journey behind the scenes with my wife and my 2 crumb snatchers, right? I don't share that in LinkedIn, but I share that on Instagram. and I'm deliberate about what I share where. But that said, however I show up, I show up. I'm not gonna, show the professional side of me on LinkedIn and then I'm turned up on the gram. You have to be mindful that, you have to remain the same no matter where you are, right? It's just, you might adjust the content that you're putting out on any given platform, but show up as your whole self, your authentic self. Be relatable, be impactful, right? And the last piece that I always share is whatever you do, it needs to be profitable. So you might be working your full-time job and you might have a side hustle. And if you have a full-time job that paying the bills and the side hustle can provide for itself, great, right? But over the long term, you need to make sure that, whatever else you're doing, you might have a free version of that offering, but you should have a paid one as well, right? You need to begin to create multiple streams of income. And so, listen, I could go on and on. What I want to share is that, today is the last day for the carts for our Brand in Demand cohort that begins tomorrow. And what I shared is just the tip of the iceberg, right? We are going to get deep into covering something that I call the Trailblazers method. So if you've not yet had a chance to do so, I invite you to hop on over to brandindemand.co, and I share a lot about the program there. You're going to get all the information on what's included. We're giving over $4,000 worth of bonuses with this run of the course. And this is based, I talked about, back, when I was creating a course. What we've done is reverse engineered this into a process called the Trailblazers method, right? And it's broken down into 3 stages. The first stage is all about laying your foundation. We touched on some of this today. We're going to help you to get clear on finding your purpose. I'm going to help you, walk you through some proven techniques and, help you to find your purpose, to clarify your vision, to be able to document with clarity who it is that you'll be serving, and also be able to focus in on your priorities. Because guess what? If you're anything like me, along the path, you have an idea and you're like, oh, and I'm at fault. I will, I am known to have an idea and immediately I'll jump on GoDaddy and the domain name is free. And I'm like, oh, no one's bought this domain, so I'm going to buy this domain. And a couple years ago, I caught myself, I own like 45 domain names. And I'm like, Steven, you're never going to have the time or the energy or the desire to do all of this. But this is why I have a vision document. This is why I have a vivid vision for what I'm doing. And also, I've prioritized what comes first, second, third, and so on. So, when I have an idea, I'll write it down. I have to get the idea out of your head and down on paper because you can't edit the idea that's stuck in your mind. But I will prioritize what happens, right? Because if the new idea comes up and it does not serve that long-term vision, right? Then we have to put that off to the side. We can write it down. We have to put it off to the side, right? So the second stage, once we get clear on laying the foundation, we have that solid, strong foundation to build on. The second stage of the Trailblazers method has us framing our brand, right? We clarify our message. We define our brand identity. And then when we have the messaging and the visuals, then we can make sure that our entire online presence, our digital footprint, from our online HQ or website to pretty much everywhere we show up online, is consistent and cohesive. And it's very clear what we are driving and calling everyone that comes in contact with our brand, the people we want in our tribe, we are directing them. We're directing that traffic. We're calling them to take a specific action. And so once we've had that framed out, Now we can start to have fun. Third stage, we're going to create content. We're going to create income and wealth. Right? Step 9 is engaging with valuable and meaningful content. We now know who it is that we're serving. We now know what it is they're challenged by. And now we're not creating, content in a way that doesn't serve our tribe. Right? We are creating content that we know is going to help them to solve their problem each and every time. We're going to teach you how to market that offering so that step 11, you can begin to create multiple streams of income. How many of you know that multiple streams of income gives you that freedom, right? I'm not telling you, and there's a running thread right now, oh, quit your job and go start a business. Absolutely not. Do not do that. I love my salary. I love my insurance. I love my benefits. I love my job. I'm gainfully and happily employed to the Science Institute, right? And every day I get to show up because I have clarity of my vision. A couple years ago, I pitched Science and, got the dream job, right? Got the dream job. And every day I show up doing the work that I'm most passionate about. As a marketer, I'm creating podcasts. I'm doing live streams like this. I'm producing amazing content that I do for free. But I get that and I get paid to do that so that I can put these crumb snatchers through private school. Right? But, in addition to that, I'm also able to derive income from sponsorships, from speaking engagements, from merchandise, and from a host of other things. If I'm coaching this course, these are all now streams of income for me. Right? So you want to be able to begin creating multiple streams of income. It does not require you, though, to up and quit your job. Exit is not your only strategy. There are ways for you to turn the TV off at night and continue now on the path to building your personal brand. And maybe this is your pathway, even beyond the money, to being able to pursue that purpose that you can't in your 9-to-5. I love my job with Sans, but I also love what I'm doing here. I love being able to showcase the stories and the wisdom of amazing Black professionals. I can't do that in my 9-to-5. But, over the past 5+ years, I've been able to do that through my podcast. So what could you begin doing that helps you to feel fulfilled, to live out your purpose, live out your desire, to be able to impact the lives of others? And step number 12 is probably the most important thing to me, right? I promise I'll wrap up here in a few minutes. But, over the past 5 years with the podcast, going back to late 2017, actually, I was made aware of, a research study done by the Institute for Policy Studies and Policy Now. If you Google the road to zero wealth, that piece, a key finding of that study says that if nothing changes, Black median household wealth will hit zero by the year 2053. I'll repeat that. And this was in 2017. And we all know that the pandemic changed everything last year. But in 2017, in September 2017, this study, key finding that haunts me, it says, if nothing changes, Black median household wealth will hit zero by the year 2053. And here's one more addition to that. It says, if nothing changes, the Latin community is also following the same path and will hit zero wealth by the year 2073. By the way, by 2043, the minority population of this country is expected to become the majority. So by 2073, 50 years out from now, this country is going to be broke. I'll let that set in, right? That's a haunting thought for me. And for me, a big piece of this, I have a heart for telling stories about Black success stories, but I just don't want to tell the stories. I want to help you to be the change in this world. My brother, Sean Dove, I love you, my brother. Appreciate you. Sean always tells you that, we need to be the change that we're seeking to see, right? My part in this journey is to help folk, and especially Black folk, to reframe our habits, reframe our approach to money. I want to do my part in closing the racial wealth gap. I don't know how much impact I will have there, but I will go down trying, right? So, one of the things that I want to just help you to do is to give thought to, okay, when these streams of income begin coming in and I begin to earn a bit more, how can I begin to set myself up for a better future, to create more stability and security for me and my family? I went through that 12, 13 years ago. I got married in Ocho Jamaica on June 28th of 2008. By July, I had a business that went belly up, that lost several $1 million. Found myself going from buying a nice home, the idea of buying a nice home for my new bride, to 3 weeks in, I'm on a honeymoon asking my wife to pay the rent for the foreseeable future. And, going from 7-figure net worth to being 6 figures in debt. I know how that feels. And, it took us years, but, we found our way out of debt, and we reframed our habits over the past decade. And today we're not in debt. We've spent many years digging ourselves out of that hole, and we've consistently approached our lives in a way that allows us to live like no one else today, so that in 25 years we can live like no one else then, right? I want our community, I want people who I'm able to reach to be able to do the same, and to set themselves up so that one day they can retire, so that one day they can leave a lasting legacy. Listen, that's my word for today. The course, the Brand in Demand course, is amazing. I could talk about this. You're going to have bonuses that include access to a private community where you have direct access to me one-on-one. A few of my past clients and truly friends, a couple of them have been here throughout this conversation today. Minda and Sean, Lindsay Davis of ABC News, Donald C. Kelly, Jamie Tynan, Craig DeBarbo. If you're interested, hop on over. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. But, that's my word for today. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. If you've enjoyed this conversation today, please tag somebody, share this up with them, and let them know to, check out the Brand in Demand program before that ends. So that said, I wish you guys well. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I will not be going live until July 30th. I'm going to take a break for the next couple of weeks. And actually heading to Florida this evening, and bring my dad back with me. Those of you who have been following my journey with my dad, he's going to be spending the next couple months here with us. So I'm going to take a couple weeks off. I'll be back on July 30th for another interview. So enjoy. God bless. Have a fantastic connecting with you again soon. Enjoy. Cheers.